Good afternoon. My name is Caroline Currie. We'll get started here in just a second. I'm going to give it a minute or two for maybe a few folks to jump on. But I'm very excited to be here and sharing a little bit of my story with you all today. I'll maybe give it just another minute and see if we have anybody join us live, and then I'll get started. All right. Well, like I said, my name is Caroline Currie, and I am a strategic account manager with a company called NewLeaf Symbiotics. We are a biotech startup based in the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm based in Indianapolis, so that's where I'm coming to you from today, originally from Southern Illinois. So deep south, Southern Illinois metropolis, right on the border with Paducah, Kentucky, and had just an amazing experience as an Illinois FFA member. And I'm really excited to get to hopefully answer a few questions for you today. So, a little bit of background on me. As far as my professional career, I left Illinois after high school and went to Oklahoma State University. I was pretty hungry to get out and experience somewhere new. So went to Oklahoma State, studied agricultural economics for my bachelor's degree, and then ended up also pursuing a master's in international agriculture that required and allowed me to have a stint outside of the United States, which was a really incredible experience. I lived in Argentina for about a half a year. And then after college, I started a career in sales. And I always thought that when I was an FFA and growing up that I wanted to go to law school. It was the only career I felt like I had really seen modeled where people got to use communication skills. I watched a lot of Law and Order growing up, and I thought that that was a really natural fit for my specific skill set. And then in college, I took a sales and marketing class at Oklahoma State and learned that there were a whole host of opportunities within the agriculture industry in animal livestock production to crop science, and now in a space where and for most of my career, I've had the opportunity to work with emerging technologies in business development. And so that was really where I decided to kind of get my start. So began my career with a couple of really incredible companies, the first one being Syngenta. So if you've been to the FFA convention, you may have seen their booth in the Career Expo. And then took an opportunity to work with the Climate Corporation shortly after it had been purchased by what was Monsanto at the time, now Bayer Crop Sciences. And really enjoyed getting to introduce a new and exciting digital technology and digital suite of tools to farmers. And that opportunity actually was the one that brought me back to the state of Illinois. So came back and was living in Champaign, and found that even within our state, there are a lot of different cultures that can exist. Obviously, we all know, Chicago's got its own thing going on. I would argue that Southern Illinois is pretty unique in its culture, but I really cherish still today those years that I got to spend in Central Illinois working with what I would consider some of the most innovative and professional, value-driven farmers in the world. And so was there for a couple of years and then moved to Indianapolis, still with the Climate Corporation. And then I took this role with the current company, NewLeaf Symbiotics, where we're working with a specific genre of microbe called Methylobacterium. And today we have a couple of biostimulant products that myself and our very small business development team have been tasked with building a market for the first time. And then we also have some really exciting strains, methylotrophic strains in our pipeline that will hopefully one day be biocontrol products. So being able to mitigate pest and disease pressure using something that is all natural, comes from plants, and has no hard chemistry involved with it. So it's been really an incredible learning opportunity to build a market for something that's new and hasn't been done before. And that's really kind of where I've found a fun fit for myself within the agriculture industry. So I will take a couple of questions. What was the most difficult part in leaving Illinois, and how did you know what you wanted to major in? It's a great question. I think the most difficult part was figuring out a lot of the logistics of how to physically move somewhere else. My mom and I still, talk about the day that I pulled out of the driveway. I had a blue Honda Civic that I used for my entire state officer year, and I had that Civic loaded down. It feels like a country song when I talk about it now, but had the Honda Civic loaded down and headed to Oklahoma and moved myself in. And I think at the time, I had a lot of questions about whether or not I was making the right choice. And I've had some, good mentors tell me still today that sometimes you got to just make a decision and not look back. And so I had a great experience in Oklahoma, and it was good to get to experience a new part of the country, new types of people, and I would encourage that to anybody. How did you decide? Well, two things, that I wanted to go to Oklahoma State, and then also what I wanted to major in. So there were some ag teachers in my section that had been, well, one ag teacher, and then her sister was also an ag teacher. The shout out to the Bond sisters that had been to Oklahoma State, and I really respected them, and decided that it was in the cards for me to try to get out of the state of Illinois, experience something new. I agree with some of the advice that was given on one of these calls earlier, that you can always come back home. And went and saw the campus. I felt like the people were really grounded. It was a big school, a land grant, that was important to me, but it also was a small town feel, and I felt like the faculty there were going to be really supportive and help me grow and develop. And I did not know when I went that I would end up wanting to be an ag econ major, so I started in ag communications, and then changed first to like a dual path, dual major, and then I went ag econ all the way, in part because I saw more opportunities just for myself and kind of the kind of career that I wanted to have in business if I had that econ background. And then also I enjoyed the coursework. I took an intro to ag econ class and felt like that was an area that was fun to be curious in and fun to learn in. And I enjoyed the professors as well. What is the most challenging part of my job? I would say that the most challenging part is probably operating in the unknown a lot, if not all the time. So questions from, how can we tweak our formulation to, we're working with really they're robust for living microbes, but fairly sensitive. So how do we keep this as a living organism still functional, but integrate it into agriculture practices that are commonly used, and to where it isn't disrupting a farmer's ability to plant and utilize the product. And so we've got a lot of questions when you're working with a new and emerging technology. And I've, early on had to become very comfortable with being able to say, I don't know, but I'll have to let me do some homework and I'll get back with you with an answer here, in the next 24 hours or this afternoon. And so I think that that was something that maybe as an FFA member, I was really fixated on always having the right answers, whether it's participating in a career development event or a job interview, CDE, going through a nominating committee. I like to have the answers down pat. And that's something that in my career, I think has been a really great thing to shake up and develop myself, is working in spaces where I can bring to the table my experience from these other companies I've worked in or other places I've lived, farmers I've known, but not always having the answers. I also, as just another kind of interesting challenge in this current role, is I work with a lot of PhD scientists, like the majority of the company, and so I do a lot of translating for simple people like myself to really science-minded folks, and that's a challenge that I've really enjoyed. The most rewarding part of my job, and I think this also was something that I really loved about the role with the Climate Corporation and FieldView as well, is when you're working with an emerging technology, something that is new and innovative, maybe a startup like the one I work with now, it naturally draws you to some of the more independent minded and innovative farmers and businesses. So companies that are trying to think through, how do we incorporate a biological component to what we offer at the farm gate today, and then farmers that are tinkerers and experimenters. And I have just really fallen in love with being able to work with those kind of people that are really on the front lines of trying to figure out new and better ways of doing things and producing in agriculture. Was it hard? Was it hard to adjust to being in Oklahoma? Not really. I think that there are good people everywhere, and I think there's a lot of value in experiencing new places and being able to, find common threads of connection with people that maybe grew up in some ways much different or the same than you. One quick story on that. I remember my first week of school. Um, I was really passionate about some of my understanding of the world and some of my personal beliefs. And I had grown up on a farm, and I, had been an FFA, and I knew what I believed about GMOs and hard chemistry and the whole organics side of the conversation. But I had some concert tickets from a Christmas present that I wanted to use, and was without one other person to fill one of the tickets. So I invited this girl that I had met, who was one of the only people I knew from going through a week of kind of onboarding for school together. And we're pulling out of our parking lot. She ended up living across the hall from me for the first year in the dorms. And we're pulling out of the parking lot, and she points out her Toyota Prius, and it has like coexist stickers on it. Some very differing political views than the ones that I had at the time. And she I would call her pretty hippy dippy in my circle or sphere of friends, and we are still best friends to this day. She came to my wedding, and I think that learning how to talk to someone like her, who has now become a marine biologist, really has helped me see the world in a broader sense and have a better ability to communicate with people that may not have grown up on farms and had the same experience that I did. Typical day in my job, like a lot of others that I think have been on some of these Facebook Lives, the days vary. So right now, there are a lot of folks treating seed, and some of our biostimulant products are available in seed treatment forms or formulations. And so most of my days are spent trying to troubleshoot issues, answer questions, be available by phone to take calls from seed treaters across the country. I work more specifically east of the Mississippi, so a lot of mine are concentrated in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois. And that's kind of the season we're in now. But a typical day, I work from home, so I have kind of, flexible hours. And I'm based out of my home, but I do a lot of traveling. And there are certain times of the year where seed industry professionals meet at conferences or big events together, and I'll have to go and pitch the product to them. And then there are also seasons of the year where we're trying to create groundswell with farmers to have interest in our product. We're building a brand called TerraSym. So if you've seen that around, or hopefully maybe hear about our performance later this year, that has been something that I'll go and speak at farmer meetings and try to get the word out about our products and explain how our technology works. What advice do I have to a student who would be interested in a career in agriscience? I think probably an obvious answer would be to study agronomy or one of the really science-heavy fields that are, specific to the area of the industry that you're wanting to work in. For me, yeah, I get to see and work with a lot of really science-minded professionals having a degree like agribusiness or ag econ, ag communications, even ag education. These degrees can fit in a lot of different companies across the industry if you're hungry to learn and ask a lot of questions. And so, especially for myself, moving from a couple of different companies to the one I'm at now, where this is a space I've never worked in before, asking questions has probably been one of the most important things that I've done as I've come into new opportunities. Let me see here. It looks like I'm pretty close on time. Do I see growth in the industry? I think we're in a really interesting moment right now where, there are a lot of urban centers that have been pretty disconnected from the farm gate producer. And so I think if as an ag industry and, as FFA members, if we can think about how to tangibly take what we know about agriculture, how we care about natural resources, and find ways to take that direct to consumer, I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities in the industry today. And as far as need for employees or growth in the industry, having worked in the digital space and then now working with another venture capital backed company, which basically means that there are really wealthy people or entities that want to invest money to see new technology be brought to market. So you think about like an Uber or even in ag, Farmers Business Network, Indigo, the Climate Corporation. The idea would be that people invest a lot of money to bring a new and innovative technology to the market, and then you're able to have that company make an exit. They either go public, where they're making money on their own and they're profitable, or they get acquired by another big company. And so a lot of the technology we use in agriculture today has been through these innovative startups that are then acquired and brought in across biosciences to digital. And so all that is to say, I think there are a lot of companies and interested parties in the coast and other places that are wanting to invest in agriculture, but need people that can help them figure out the details and figure out how to talk to farmers, how to deploy new products or go to market strategies in agriculture, everything from farmland as an investment class to biotech to digital tools and precision technology. So I think if you can find a way to be a problem solver and help connect those that are outside of ag to the industry in a way that is best for the business, there's a lot of opportunities there. And frankly, we don't even know what all of those opportunities are going to look like because our technology is changing all the time. You know, there wasn't a need for a data scientist in agriculture 20 years ago, and now that's a really common and an excellent career choice. So for the last question, I'll just leave with a quick piece of life advice. I would say to use this time to invest in social capital. And what I mean by that is one of the things I think was and is so special about being an FFA member is that you're in a safe place to learn, and you can pick a speech topic or a science fair project or something that is totally outside of your sphere of knowledge or what you've done, and it's a safe place to try new things and take chances and not always worry about perfection, but to learn for the sake of learning. And in that process, you can ask people for help and reach out to folks at universities or other ag teachers or a farmer in your community. And at least for me, I found that generally people want to help, and that they, want to see young people working on and doing positive, productive things. And so you have a special window of time where you can connect with a lot of people. And even if it's folks that are, you're running into at contest or a conference or connecting with on social media, you'll see these people again. I still do all the time. I'm not advocating for this, but I met my husband through FFA, and he's from a totally different state. So you should not do this and invest in social capital for the sake of trying to, find a husband or a wife, but it could happen. So I would say invest in social capital. You never know where these relationships and mentors and people that are standing in the sidelines today, watching you compete in a contest, judging you, or sharing a room at a conference, where they'll show up again. And it's been really fun to be in an industry where I get to interact with and see those people all the time. So agriculture is a great place to build a career. The people are wonderful. There's a ton of opportunity, and it is an essential industry. So I hope that you'll consider a career in agriculture. And if there's any way that I can ever be of help or answer any more questions, I'm happy to do that. So thank you so much for listening today, and have a great rest of your weekend. Take care.